Alrighty guys, welcome back. Did something kind of crazy yesterday, and we had to level the edges of the floor because we left the 2.5 inch foam because I didn't want any thermal break, because sometimes you angle the top of the foam, so then you're having direct, what's the word? Not conductivity, this word. I cannot remember what it is. But I didn't want that, so I left my 2.5 inch foam going all the way up. But because of that, there were some inconsistencies in the concrete, so we went around with floor leveler around the entire perimeter. I had to grind off all the paint from spraying the house so that the floor leveler would stick off of the like 2 inches of poured wall, 2.5 inches of foam, and probably 4 inches of the edge of the floor. So that took a long time. Dumped floor leveler everywhere, and then I had to grind that down because it wasn't perfect. But then I kind of came out into the floor and I kind of started to see inconsistencies. The day that we poured it was incredibly hot. It was quite the day, but sometimes you don't have a choice and you just have to get it done. So that's what we did. But anyway, I started to find little imperfections, and they're kind of, I call them trowel ridges. I found a cream ridge, I would grind it, and then I was like, oh wait, I bet you there's one over there. Long story short, I ground the entire house with an 8-inch grinder. It was, oh man, I don't even want to talk about it because it was so much work. But not polished ground, but ground pretty well everywhere. I'll show you the surface here. So you can see I ground off almost all the paint. That stuff you see is primarily just the cream on top of the concrete. It just looks different right here where it's ground through. And then something called slab curling happens when you saw cut, especially when it's a hot open top pour like this where it's just beating on direct sun. And it happens in almost every application when you saw cut. If in between my fingers is the saw cut, the edges of the slab curl up slightly like this. That's why if you go to any mall, Home Depot, Lowe's, look at the floor, and every joint is going to look a little bit different than the rest of the floor, because companies have to come back, I think it's like every 5 to 10 years, and they have to grind down those joints and seal them and fix them, because what happens is the slab curling happens, it curls up, and then all the forklifts drive over it, and it just damages that edge. Long story short, you guys don't care about Home Depot, but I didn't want to set my floor on top of one of these saw cuts and have that issue of rocking over the slab curling. So I ground all the joints, like ground them. So I just toughed it out and got it done. But there's still a little bit of paint left, and we're going to seal this floor. So I want to make sure to get any residue from the drywall or stuff that we spilled during construction. I want to get it off. So I'm going to start with a bucket and a mop and some floor stripper. We're going to put that on there, let it sit for like 15-20 minutes, and then wash that off good and get it nice and clean before we put on the sealer, because we don't want the stuff on here to affect the performance of the sealer. Alright, we got all the floors clean, we let them dry. Now we're going to use a product called Radon Seal. Hey, you can't be in here while we're sealing. Go on. What a goofball. Alright, so we're using a product called Radon Seal. This is kind of like a water-based, non-toxic, no VOCs and no off-gassing, which is what we didn't want because we're inside a house and it's an incredibly tight house. So any like vapors or harmful stuff would just be trapped in here basically forever. So we have to wet the surface so that the sealer can penetrate down through easier. So we're gonna mist it with water just to get it like damp. You don't want any puddles. And then we will spread the Radon Seal. We'll put that in the sprayer, spray it, broom it around so that we don't have any puddles. We need to do 2 thin applications. So we'll probably do the whole house, and then come back and do the whole house again. We'll have to see how long it takes. Supposedly this stuff dries in like 1 to 4 hours, and like this isn't a sealer. Like on the top, it soaks in and it seals all of the cavities and voids in the concrete. So if we walk on it, if we mess it up, it doesn't really matter because everything's getting covered. But we do want it to penetrate and do its job. So, you ready?
Yep.
Alrighty guys, sorry that was kind of a short random video, but we had to get it done. All these little steps add up for the house. We will see you guys in the next video for tile. That's beautiful, sweetie. Mama singing, buddy.